Dawn begins with a slow, gentle transition across the valley. The horizon shifts from deep blue to pale gold as sunlight reaches the upper edges of ancient cliffs. These cliffs, shaped by millions of years of erosion, cast long shadows that stretch across the land like dark fingers. As the light grows stronger, it reveals the vastness of the terrain: rolling hills, patches of forest, scattered boulders, and long stretches of grass that ripple softly with the movement of cool morning air. High above, thin clouds move in straight, steady lines. They do not rush or swirl. Instead, they drift calmly, reflecting faint streaks of pink and orange from the rising sun. A breeze pushes through the valley floor, bending tall grasses in one direction. The sound is soft, like the gentle brushing of fabric. From behind a ridge, a Mapusaurus steps into the morning light. It moves at a measured pace, each foot planting firmly into the soil before the next step follows. Its scales catch the early sunlight, giving its body a muted shine that fades as it walks into shadowed areas. The dinosaur briefly stops at the top of the ridge, not out of decision, but because the terrain naturally narrows there. It waits as members of its group continue emerging one by one. The group consists of several individuals, each moving with the steady rhythm typical of large theropods. Some walk slightly closer to the cliff face. Others follow the ridge's curve, but all respond to the land's shape rather than each other. Their spacing shifts naturally, wider across open ground, narrower where rocks or elevation changes guide their path. The valley below is already active with other species starting their early routines. Closer to the far end of the grassland, a herd of Parasaurolophus grazes near a shallow, glimmering pool of water. The surface of the pool reflects the changing sky. The herd bends their heads rhythmically to pull vegetation, then lifts them again to reposition. Their movements remain calm and predictable. As the Mapusaurus group enters the forest, the atmosphere changes in a noticeable but steady way. The temperature drops several degrees because thick trees block direct sunlight. The air becomes denser and carries a cool moisture that hangs lightly around the leaves. The transition is slow and natural, creating a shift from the brightness of the valley into the calm dimness of a shaded woodland. Tall conifers dominate the outer layer of the forest. Their trunks rise straight upward, marked with rough, cracked bark that has accumulated patterns over centuries. Sunbeams break through at angles, forming narrow pillars of golden light that drift across the forest floor each time the wind gently moves the branches. The ground under the Mapusaurus group softens compared to the valley soil. Instead of gravel, the forest floor consists of layered leaves, patches of moss, and soil rich with moisture. Their footsteps press lightly into the ground, leaving shallow impressions that slowly fill with loose material as the wind brushes over them. Smaller creatures populate this environment. A group of primitive birds with feathered arms glides between branches, settling briefly before taking off again. Their claws scrape the bark softly as they move. Insects buzz close to tree trunks, landing occasionally on patches of fungus that grow in rounded shapes near the base of the larger trees. As the Mapusaurus continue forward, the environment grows thicker. Ferns rise waist-high, their fronds spreading outward like green fans. Some fronds tremble slightly when touched by a passing footstep or a movement of air. The group adjusts its spacing naturally as vegetation becomes denser. Individuals pass through wider gaps while others wait for narrow spaces to open. Sunlight becomes more scattered the deeper they go. Instead of large patches of brightness, the forest interior displays soft, filtered light that moves across everything in shifting patterns. Every so often, particles of dust or pollen float through the air, catching fragments of sunlight and glowing for a brief moment before disappearing into shadow again. As the Mapusaurus group steps out of the forest, the transition into the rocky corridor happens slowly and naturally. The dense canopy behind them gives way to open light that spreads across the landscape in wide, bright layers. Sunbeams fall freely now, striking the ground with more intensity than inside the shaded forest. The temperature feels warmer and the air carries less moisture, indicating the shift to a more exposed environment. The rocky corridor begins at the edge of the forest, where the terrain rises into slopes shaped by old erosion. The ground becomes firmer with each step, changing from soft soil to compact earth dotted with stones of different sizes. Some stones are smooth due to years of weathering, while others have sharper surfaces where recent fractures have occurred naturally. Tall cliffs line both sides of the corridor. Their surfaces are rugged, with streaks of darker minerals running vertically down the rock faces. Sunlight strikes these cliffs at angles, creating long shadows that stretch across the path. The shadows change shape when winds move through the high ridges, making patterns shift faintly along the ground. The Mapusaurus group moves forward in a long, steady line. Their steps create soft thuds against the earth, sending tiny vibrations across loose pebbles. Occasionally, a pebble rolls a small distance before settling. The dinosaurs make no adjustments other than following the natural width of the path. The corridor gently narrows in some areas and widens in others, guiding their formation smoothly without interruption. A quiet breeze travels down the corridor. It carries the coolness of shaded rock that has not yet absorbed full sunlight. As it passes through, the breeze lifts loose dust from the ground, but only lightly, causing faint trails to drift before sinking back to the earth. Each Mapusaurus passes through these drifting dust layers, creating brief partings in the particles. As the Mapusaurus group steps down from the rocky basin and enters the open grassland, the environment expands in every direction. The change is gradual at first. The rocky ground softens into patches of earth, then into long streams of dry golden grass that sway gently as the wind moves across the plain. The grassland stretches far beyond the horizon. Tall blades rise in clusters, shifting in steady waves whenever the breeze passes through. The sunlight reflects off their surfaces, creating a shimmering effect that makes the land appear like an endless sheet of soft gold. The air carries the faint scent of dry vegetation mixed with the minerals of the distant rocky zones. The Mapusaurus group moves in a calm formation. Their steps create narrow paths in the grass that slowly fold back into place after they pass. Small insects rise briefly from the disturbed grass before settling again. Birds perched on distant shrubs take off occasionally, gliding low over the plain before landing in areas where the grass is shorter. Ahead of the group, the terrain forms a slight downward curve, a natural dip in the land where the grass grows taller due to seasonal moisture collecting here. The ground feels softer underfoot. Patches of darker soil appear where water last settled during previous rains. These patches support different plant species: wider leaves, low shrubs, and small purple flowers that dot the plain in scattered patterns. As the group walks across this dip, faint vibrations travel through the ground. These vibrations come from the movement of large animals far away, possibly titanosaurs or other herbivores that cross the plain at predictable intervals. The vibrations remain light and consistent, spreading evenly across the soil. In the distance, a massive herd of herbivorous dinosaurs moves across the far edge of the grassland. Their silhouettes appear through slight distortions caused by rising heat. They travel in wide arcs shaped by the land, grazing in slow, methodical patterns. The Mapusaurus do not alter their direction toward them. Both groups follow their natural routes that intersect the landscape at different elevations. As the Mapusaurus group continues their steady climb up the hillside, the terrain shifts gradually beneath them. The slope rises in long, even segments, shaped over thousands of years by rain runoff and slow erosion. Loose stones slide gently under their feet, rolling small distances before settling into pockets of soil. Every surface reflects the late afternoon light, giving the hillside a warm golden glow. The air grows cooler with each upward step. A light breeze moves across the ridge, carrying the scent of dry grass and the faint mineral smell of exposed rock. The higher elevation brings clearer visibility. The land below stretches endlessly, showing every environment they have crossed throughout the day. The distant forest line, the wide grassland, and the thunder plains with their cracked mosaic patterns. The hillside becomes more open near the top. Grass grows shorter here, replaced by patches of tough shrubs that cling to the earth with deep roots. These shrubs shift slightly in the wind, their thin branches brushing against each other and producing small, crisp sounds. Tiny insects crawl along the branches, moving in steady lines toward the shaded spaces beneath leaves. The Mapusaurus group reaches a flat plateau just before the ridge peak. The plateau is wide enough to support various species, small reptiles, insects, and sparse plant clusters. Smooth, weathered stones lie scattered in circular patterns shaped naturally by years of wind movement. Some stones sit partially buried, revealing only their rounded tops.